here in all points, far and wide. The county sheriff's department, the police, dispatchers, they were on the front lines to fight the fires, rescue as many as it was humanly possible, and help us through an impossible emergency. It is with great admiration and gratitude that I can introduce to you today Captain Jim Naugle of the Sonoma County Sheriff's Department to say a few words.
All right. Well, first of all, I just want to thank you guys for having me here today, and just let you know that what a humbling experience it is for me to come here and try to talk about such a historic event in our county. And as I started to prepare for this and decide what to say, you quickly realize there's really no way to give a proper tribute to something of this magnitude. In my mind, it's one of those historic events that happen so rarely that, you remember where you were. You can't hear? How about that? You remember where you were when you heard it, and how it consumed your life for days on end, trying to track what's going on. And so, it's really difficult. For me, my journey started at 3 o'clock in the morning, much later than some of you folks here started dealing with the fires. Him. And so as soon as I hung up with him, I called my boss and I said, hey, what's going on? And he told me, he said, hey, there is a fire. We have very little information. There was a lot of confusion as to what was really going on. So he said, hey, just go back to bed, sleep, and come back in the morning because it's going to be a long day. And so, like any good, honest deputy would be, I got up immediately, I got dressed, and I headed in for work. So, for me, it first hit me as I left my house, because like I said, I'm down in Petaluma, we were pretty far removed from the true problem. But the first thing I noticed was the wind. And not the strength of the wind, but the heat and the dryness of it. And it almost had this just creepy, eerie feeling to it. And I'm sure, I'm preaching to the choir here, but for me, it was like it just didn't feel right. So I jumped in my car and I headed northbound 101, and so I'm driving, and then I noticed that there's nobody out, nobody on the roads on southbound 101 or anywhere, and it had this very weird darkness to it, from all the smoke. Couldn't see stars, moon, nothing. Everything was gone. And so then as I came through Roner Park, that's when I first noticed just that creepy, eerie glow back setting behind the county. And that's when it started to sink in. I pulled into the parking lot of the sheriff's office. Our back lot, the hills behind there, if you've seen our place, was still on fire. And then I pull in, as I'm walking, it's just chaos, right? People all over the place, deputies coming in, exhausted, covered in dirt and ash. And so away I went. So for me, my part, so at our first meeting, we had a planning meeting, and I was assigned to mutual aid. And so what mutual aid is, all those agencies you guys saw coming in and out from who knows how far away, those are all the people that I hate to keep track of and coordinate. So I'm thinking to myself, hey, I've done this job a long time. I deal with outside agencies all the time. This is gonna be easy. How hard could it be? So I leave that meeting and I walk into the main training room at the sheriff's office, right? Because that's where everybody was gonna meet me. And when I walk in the room, I saw at least what felt like 700 cops standing there staring at me for direction. And all I could do is I walked in, I said, hey, thank you all for being here, and stand by. And I left. I had not wrapped my brain around what it was going to take and who was going to be there to help. And so I was fortunate enough to meet a lieutenant from Alameda, great guy, and he's our regional coordinator for mutual aid. And I told him, and I go, hey, Paul, I go, we don't need this many people. And he told me, he goes, oh, you're right, which made me feel better, right? I'm like, okay, good. He goes, you're gonna need more. And that didn't make me feel so good. And this coming from a guy, he ran the whole Oakland Hills fires and all that, so that's when I thought, okay, we got a problem on our hands. Over the span of the fires, we moved on average about 300 law enforcement officers from other agencies through the sheriff's office. Yeah, every 12 hours. So we worked 12 hours, what we called operational periods. So every 12 hours we had, anywhere from 200 to 400 new cops coming through, and we'd send them out. And that doesn't include, anywhere from 200 to 600 of the National Guard officers or soldiers that we had out doing the various tasks we had them to do. And it didn't include the 100 plus of our own that we had on the streets. And the significance of that is we had 29 people in our own agency lose their homes. And all 29 of them came to work every day to get through this. And so, so we understood, and that's one of the hardest things for us as an agency. I'll tell you right now, if you know a cop, we're fixers, right? We can get through anything, we can fix everything, as long as it's happening to someone else. These were our own people and our own family struggling, and it really added an interesting dynamic to the whole thing as we got through it. The big thing is, as an agency, we've received a lot of praise over the last year, and trust me, our deputies in the field, all of it absolutely deserved. But it's important to know that, that's what we would expect from them. We'd sign up for this job, even the extraordinary outpouring from the other agencies, that was expected. I've grown up knowing if I need help, my allied agencies are gonna come help me. So that wasn't, it was a lot, but it was like, okay, we're good. Over the course of time, though, something unexpected happened for us. And the unexpected was this incredible outpouring of just compassion and caring and love from the community. It really was, it was a game changer for us as an agency. You may not know, we have not always been popular in the media and stuff, so, we're a little bit of a guarded bunch, and what happened is we had so many people donating food and water, we couldn't even store it inside the sheriff's office. We had to store it in the back parking lot. There came a time when we honestly said, hey, look, thank you, but we don't need it. Go take it somewhere where it's needed. We had so many food trucks and local restaurants bringing food that we had to assign a full-time coordinator just to schedule when our food would come. Like, hey, we can only have 3 food trucks for lunch. We can only have 4 for dinner. And these were people that would show up, they'd open their doors, they'd say, eat till we're out of food. Which, again, having 300 plus cops running around, that was a good thing, because it ran out pretty quick. And so for us, and I like to tell people that it really recalibrated this county collectively, I think. Us as an agency, we realize that, we are all in this together. So, we have received a lot of praise, and I appreciate that. But really, we couldn't have done any of what we did without the support of you folks, without the support of this county. Santa Rosa Police Department, they were in it with us. We've never worked tighter with them as an agency. Our dispatchers were handling thousands of calls a day. County roads, I don't even know if people know, county roads was working 24 hours a day to clear roads so that we could even get in and see what the problem was or how to deal with it. Public Works, all these agencies in the county running the Emergency Operations Center 24 hours a day. So yeah, my guys were up front, and trust me, they did a great job. I couldn't be more proud of them, but the support they received and we received has been just absolutely phenomenal. And all that to be said, this county, like nothing I've ever seen, was absolutely united across the board and strong back then on that day. I feel like this county is still united and strong to this day, but we have to remember to be united and strong for years to come. All you have to do is drive by one of those neighborhoods. For me, the other day I drove over to Lake County and I drove up Mark West, and it struck me, it's how many people are still hurting. How many people are still struggling to get through this? At this 1 year mark, for those of us that weren't directly affected, that memory starts to fade, right? We start getting back to our normal lives. Whatever that new normal looks like, it's still not tragic to us. But we collectively have to remember it's still a very live tragedy for, I'm sure, many of you here and thousands of people out there. This isn't something that's gonna go away, and they don't get to be normal again for a long, long time. And I think it's really important that this community stays strong. You know, there's so many pressures in this society nowadays that try to tear us apart and divide us. But I saw something in this county that I think is a rare thing to be able to experience, and that's all of you folks and all the people out there united for one cause. And I call on everyone to stay united and strong and stick with us. And I just really, really thank you guys for giving me the opportunity to speak. And you know, I'm going to stick around for a while. If you guys have questions or whatever, I'd be happy to talk to you. But thank you.